Dear friends in India and around the world, a very warm welcome on behalf of Madhyam by my colleague, friend, and fellow mediator JP Singh and myself as we assemble virtually for an event that is not merely a book release. It is the coming together of minds, of hearts, of souls that salute all those who rose like the phoenix to heal a world broken by a catastrophe that has changed it and changed us forever. We saw how the pandemic devastated, destroyed, shocked, shattered, bruised families, neighborhoods, communities, nations. How the staggering number of human lives lost all over the world numbed us into hopelessness. How the thought of loved ones who will never come back home or will suffer a lifetime of disability wounded us from within. Yet, even as we grieved, they built hope in despair, giving themselves completely to healing the world bit by bit in hospitals, in makeshift medical centers, under the trees, in parks, in alleys, and corridors, wherever they could for the last 1 year. Today, we salute the stellar efforts of the COVID warriors of the world as mediators through our own work in mediation and in its endeavor to promote peace and harmony for all humankind. The book, The Power of Mediation, was conceived to let our warriors know that we are all with them, arm in arm, in their efforts as fellow peace builders. Today, we are indeed privileged to have with us a very distinguished panel of guests who are leaders and builders of hope and trust and peace in their own unique ways, and who really need no introduction. They will do the honors today. Justice S. Ravindra Bhatt, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Justice Arjan K. Sikri, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, and presently Judge, Singapore International Commercial Court. Dr. V.K. Paul, Chairperson of India's Task Force for Vaccine Administration, who is leading the largest vaccine drive in the world today.
While on one hand, people across India and around the globe were largely confined to their homes, with businesses and educational institutions all shut down in an attempt to contain the virus. And on the other hand, doctors, healthcare workers, and medical staff members were leading the battle against COVID-19 from the front, putting their own lives at risk with selfless determination for the sake of saving lives. They truly are our heroes in these challenging times. As stricter norms came to be implemented, the policemen came to the fore. With the lockdown, the providers of essential supplies made their presence felt. To stem the exodus of migrant labor, the good Samaritans sprung up from every nook and corner and started kitchens to feed the needy. The time is tough, but the era belongs to the toughest. The year, with its share of trials and tribulations, threw up some exemplary work being done by organizations and individuals in this difficult time as the pandemic spread. A new breed of warriors with an indomitable spirit stood up bravely against it to take the challenge head on. We dedicate this piece of work to all coronavirus warriors who took it upon themselves to free the world from this highly infectious disease in one way or another. I would like to mention some of the warriors who have gone an extra mile to do their duty. Jitendra Singh Shanti, founder of Shaheed Bhagat Singh Seva Dal, performed last rites of over 200 people who were abandoned due to fear and stigma around the virus to give the departed a dignified send-off. Vikas Khanna, Michelin star chef's initiative, Feed India campaign, has served over 50 million meals across India. Advitya Mal, along with his childhood friend Mukul Pava, founded Dhoond.com, a website that helps people in finding a possible plasma donor. 9-month pregnant nurse Rupa Praveen Rao in Karnataka decided not to stay at home and instead resume her duty and serve people during these tough times. Srijana Gurumalla, Commissioner of Great Vishakhapatnam Municipal Corporation, resumed duty with a month-old baby in her arms. Chinnu Quatra, along with his few friends, decided to provide support to the most vulnerable people in Mumbai, such as the guards, daily wage workers, migrants, by providing them fresh, nutritious, and healthy meals during the day as a part of his campaign, Roti Ghar. Indira Gar, an Anganwadi Didi at Tarpal village around 53 kilometers from Udaipur, distributed home rations, monitored newborn weight, provided medical supplies and checkups to the expecting mothers. She, along with another volunteer from Asha, went all out to create awareness about the pandemic and safety measures. Because of her efforts, no one leaves the village without wearing a mask. Relu Vasave from Maharashtra's rode 14 kilometers daily, which took her nearly about 2 hours to reach out to expecting mothers, newborns, and provide them the much needed support and make her village people aware about the COVID crisis. She has helped over 138 women and children with home rations, medical checkups, monitoring their weight, and counseling them that they will value for the entire lifetime. These are just but a few examples. I'm sure all around the globe, there are instances where people have risen to the occasion. In the words of Kiran Majumdar Shaw, ultimately, I quote, ultimately, the greatest lesson that COVID-19 can teach humanity is that we are all in this together.
May I now request Mr. Amarjit Singh Chandiok, President of Madhyam, who has led the mediation movement in the Delhi bar from the front for the last 15 years, to present Madhyam's vision and mission going forward.
Thank you, Sadhna. My Lord Justice Bhatt, my Lord Justice Sikri, and Dr. Vinod Paul, I think the very presence of yours at this occasion humbles us all at Madhyam and all mediators of the world today. The very fact that your lordships have been very kind and Dr. Paul has been kind to come and grace this occasion, which we thought all till our childhood, till we got this pandemic in 2009-10 or 2020, was only our warriors at the boundaries, our army, navy, and air force, or people who were working with them. A new breed of warriors came in existence with this pandemic. And as JP and Sadhna have already described them, we all thought we should dedicate our this book on mediation to them, to tell them that togetherness in every field is the need of the hour, whether you are a doctor, a nurse, a paramedical, or even a person who has gone, as JP said, gone and cremated people with honors. So we as a community, as human beings, must respect each other. And we at Madhyam's mission, right from the day when this was entrusted upon us to start mediation process. And I'm happy to all my participants who are from India and abroad to tell that I think there can't be a better occasion, because the foundation with respect to mediation was laid in Delhi by Chief Justice then. And along with that were these two honorable judges. And I keep saying this, Lords, and I'm saying with sense of pride, that the very fact that Delhi High Court is represented in numbers in the Honorable Supreme Court, only two Indian judges who are gone to foreign courts are from Delhi High Court. Therefore, it's Delhi High Court's foundation to which we all belong, from where we started alphabet A of mediation, stands up today with you and take this lead to tell all COVID warriors that we stand with them. We are proud of the fact that in India, despite our proportions of population, despite everything else, we have still been able to contain what was called, in other parts of the world, people are still struggling with it. London is still locked down, Europe is locked down, but we have been able to come a way up. Therefore, this is only possible with a collective effort from all of us. And there can't be a better situation than today when I see doctor, the person who is leading the vaccine and has led actually COVID situation right from the beginning, and the honorable judges who are there with us. The Supreme Court is represented, the top court in the world, where comes up to salute with us and pay our tribute to these warriors and tell them that we all shall stand together. On behalf of Madhyam, every mediator of this country, we all stand together at this hour, pay our respects to all those doctors, nurses, or paramedical people who have lost their lives, pay our tributes to them, pray for their souls to rest in peace, pray for all warriors that they continue to serve the humanity with greater pride, greater passion, and God bless them with greater power and more situation to give them, though the situation is not good, as they say, but yet I feel these situations brings new opportunities, and the new opportunity came for doctors for the first time. We at Madhyam got this new opportunity despite pandemic to present this book dedicated to these warriors. May I thank you all once again and request my Lord Honorable Mr. Justice Ravinder Bhatt to kindly release the hard copy of Madhyam's book.
Is my book.
I request my Lord Justice Bhatt and my Lord Justice Shikri to please hand over the first copy to Dr. Paul, because he would probably give it to and convey our message to all warriors around him, especially in our country. Of course, we will go to other warriors also outside the country ourselves. May I therefore request now my Lord Justice Bhatt to please press the button to release the E of the book, which is in soft copy, so that that can be also released and can go all over the world. Thank you so much, my lords. I must have sense to request to my Lord Justice Bhatt to please address the participants in the gathering.
Good morning.
Justice Sikri, Dr. V.K. Paul, Member Niti Ayog, Mr. Amarjit Singh Chandok, President Madhyam, Ms. Sadhna Ramchandran, J.P. Singh, mediators and my dear participants. I'm delighted to be asked for this function. I think it's a great honor for the organizers to include me in the mediation family, the mediation parivar, so to say. I will begin by thanking the President, Mr. Chandok, for this invitation for the release of this Madhyam's publication, The Power of Mediation. I've been acquainted with the Madhyam's work in alternative dispute resolution since 2016 when I was on the bench of the Delhi High Court. This collection of essays by experienced practitioners and mediators, arbitrators and lawyers is a testament to the stellar work that Madhyam has over the years. In fact, it's a pioneering event. I'm also delighted and let's say overawed by this, the salutations which the speakers, Ms. Sadhna Ramchandran, Mr. J.P. Singh, and Mr. And even Mr. Chandok had for the COVID warriors. My salute to them, the doctors, nurses, paramedics, staff who were there on the job relentlessly 24/7. Many of them for little or no reward except what they got as their salary. I think it's time that we, as a society, thought of those who not only passed away, but for the future, that we address their concerns. They also, like all of us, have concerns. Like the lawyer community is very powerful and let's say vocal, they're heard. So we have advocates, welfare fund, and many mechanisms like that. I think it's time for thinking about lawyers, paramedics, and nurses who have done this yeoman job and who will continue to do so because of their commitment to their professions. For close to a year, our world has been in the clutches of a pandemic. For legal practitioners, the nature of our work and our modes of functioning have undergone immense change. Alternate modes of dispute resolutions are increasingly relevant given the varying nature of disputes as well as the changing face of industry and business in the face of the pandemic. Unlike court proceedings or even arbitration, which may be enhanced by physical presence of the parties, mediation can actually be more efficient in the virtual mode, at least in a large number of disputes. Other than a brief session with the parties together at the outset, the mediation procedure involves the mediator meeting one-on-one with each party as she attempts to convey positions and assist in the realistic recognition of the strengths and weaknesses of a party's claim or defense. It is actually more efficient for the procedure to occur via teleconference as opposed to conference room hopping. I think if I highlight this more, I will be stating not only the obvious, but perhaps bringing coal to Newcastle. The pandemic has forged a recognition that mediation is very well suited to occur remotely and that it can be a far more effective way of resolving disputes. Increased and more efficient mediation processes occurring remotely will result in a higher number of amicable dispute resolutions, relieving overburdened judicial dockets and placing less or no strain on physical infrastructure. Likewise, disputes destined for arbitration by virtue of a dispute resolution clause, be it institutional or ad hoc, may be more efficiently resolved in mediation. At its core, the process of mediation is a confidential conversation between the mediator and the parties. It focuses on uncovering interests and eliciting suggestions from parties themselves for practical solutions to resolve the dispute. Opposite to adversarial litigation, that happens in open court, mediation is a confidential, more flexible process that might be better suited to be conducted online. Over the past few years, the mediation has gained a rapid ground and has become more accepted as an efficient mechanism in the Indian dispute milieu, if one could use that expression. The courts backed by legislation have also been enthusiastic about referring disputes to mediation. The key to the process, at the heart of it, is the persona of the mediator. The mediation process is a journey to a solution where a neutral third party, a stranger, inspires the confidence of parties who shares their inmost fears and insecurities about each other, about the conflict. It is unlike all other dispute-solving processes where the mediator handholds the disputants and leads them through a journey of self-discovery into possible solution choices. The process helps transcend parties' egos, resentments, grudges, and angers, and helps them to strip away the layers of distrust to reach what has so far eluded them, a solution. At the heart of it all, as I said, is the mediator who exudes confidence enough and trust in the parties to generate a solution where they, through a consensual decision, shake hands, possibly ending a relationship or giving a new dimension to it. The great advantage of online mediation, given the context of the pandemic, is that it is convenient, effective, and efficient use of time. Parties do not have to travel for long or wait for long hours. They do not have to make multiple visits to courts or even to mediation centers. In the online process, participants may even feel safer. This is very significant, and it has also a great deal of advantage in family disputes, for example, where the party may be able to better express their claims and difficulties from the comfort of a familiar and safe setting. This is a great benefit in cases where face-to-face confrontation may heighten the conflict. All these advantages of online mediation are, of course, contingent on a few things. The first is access to the internet in terms of physical access, in terms of bandwidth, connectivity, and so on, and also a mechanism to ensure that confidentiality is not compromised. As I said, confidentiality is at the heart, apart from the persona and the trust generated by the mediator. As ever, questions of access to justice and non-exclusion of those who are underprivileged must also be at the center of a push towards online dispute resolution. In this book, which I was given the privilege to release right now, The Power of Mediation, it is a reminder in these times of the incredible utility that mediation has as a means of dispute resolution. This anthology is comprehensive, an extremely useful guide to those interested in the process, with essays on topics as varied as force majeure contingencies, to the nature and purpose of mediation, its transition into the virtual mode in recent times, and the use of mediation for family cases and cases of domestic violence, and possibly in other cases. All these are crucially relevant to the challenges that the pandemic has thrown up, specifically and generally also to the entire process of dispute resolution, whether it is in court or through any other mechanism. Each author brings a wealth of experience in mediation and negotiation in areas as diverse as international and commercial disputes, employment disputes, family matters, and even border disputes. The book presents an overview of strategies for effective mediation, practical examples and illustrations, and a comprehensive view of various laws and even international conventions that require mediation. I am certain that mediators specifically, and all practitioners of alternative dispute resolution will find this book immensely handy and greatly useful. The commitment of the authors to mediation and negotiation is admirable and total, and each essay is incisive, insightful, and practically useful. I wish the authors and Madhyam all success, and thank you all once again for inviting me for this event.
Inspiring words, Justice Bhatt, coming from you on the proactive future of mediation, including the challenges of the new world of virtual mediation and its advantages. May we now request Justice Sikri, whom Madhyam has rechristened the resolution judge, for his extraordinary commitment and leadership to the mediation movement through his tenure as a judge of the Delhi High Court, Chief Justice of the Punjab and Haryana High Court, and as a judge of the Supreme Court of India, that continues even stronger post his superannuation. Justice Sikri.
Thank you, Sadhna Ramchandran. Let me wish, or first give my wishes to Justice Ravinder Bhatt, Dr. Paul, I've said Dr. Amarjeet, yes, he is doctor as far as mediation is concerned, Mr. JP Singh and Sadhna, and all those mediators and others who are attending, including all those who have contributed their essays in this book, The Power of Mediation. I'll come to the book in few minutes and what it contains, and will show you how the theme of the book, The Power of Mediation, is so apt, and how it captures that. But before that, let me also, like what Justice Bhatt has done, congratulate Madhyam for bringing this book, thinking of such a venture during pandemic and dedicating it to the COVID warriors, not only of India, but of the world, as written in the book itself. It says, we salute their stellar efforts to our own work in mediation and its endeavor to promote harmony within humankind. And what I was feeling when I read this, and I was thinking about it, how the work which these warriors are doing, the Corona warriors, and how the work which mediation warriors are doing, there's so much of similarity. The Corona warriors, while fighting the pandemic, as was pointed out by Sadhna, JP Singh, as well as Mr. Amarjeet Singh, their sympathy, their empathy, their dedication, their determination for service to humanity. These are all the attributes which are present in these members who are mediators and the members of Madhyam. And therefore, maybe, yes, we know that there are many who are saluting these Corona warriors in their different ways. But this was, and this I find is a unique way of saluting these warriors of in one field by warriors in other field. And if you see that in the realm of justice, because access to justice is one virtue which is very, very necessary for humankind, and particularly in the area of conflict resolution, that it should end in the outcome should be a real justice to the parties, which mediation can do, and that which Madhyam is doing for last 15 years or so now. No doubt, as Mr. Amarjeet rightly mentioned, that it was when the arbitration center was set up in Delhi High Court, and I find these faces who were there, and they are there from very beginning. If I remember, and I always say that I'm thankful to Salem Bar Association that they challenged the provisions of Section 89 by filing a writ petition. They did not want mediation. in this country. So they said that Section 89, by which mediation is introduced, this should be declared unconstitutional. But why I say I'm thankful to them is that normally many times such laws are made and they remain on paper. But my thanks to them are because of the reason that the issue was brought before the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court, while dismissing the petition, took up it to itself to ensure that mediation becomes successful also. And it is the Supreme Court at that time which went ahead with the rules, etc., should be framed, and how there can be training of mediators, how we have a breed of mediators here. So, I mean, cutting the long story short, if I may say, when Delhi High Court Mediation Center was set up, and we had initially invited persons from outside to train our mediators, to train our persons as mediators, which included Mr. Niranjan Bhatt, who has also contributed his essay in this compilation. He always used to say, whenever we would meet in all those mediation training programs, he says that I am envy of Delhi High Court, and I am proud of Delhi High Court also. A person who himself has been an accomplished mediator and has devoted his entire life to mediation would always say that, look, what I see in Delhi High Court, I feel the absence of that in my Gujarat High Court. The way lawyers have come forward with the commitment, the team, which, as I say, the three faces are here before us, Sadhna, Amarjeet, and JP Singh, as well as the judges' support. I say I don't find judges' support in our Gujarat High Court. At that time, maybe that was a position. So therefore, that is the determination, that is the dedication which this team has shown over years. And as we in imparting justice to the people and all those who came together and collective efforts. This is what Corona warriors are doing, as I said, and this is what we have been doing, or this Madhyam has been doing for the last 15 years. So therefore, my congratulations and my salute, not only to warriors of who are fighting Corona, but warriors who are trying to get justice to the people by becoming a savior of those who need justice in this country. So my salute to Madhyam and the entire team for not only bringing out this book, but dedicating it to the COVID warriors. Now, as far as the book is concerned, the theme of the book, Justice Bhatt has already mentioned about that. And in a book launch function, I don't want to say much about it. But the book says, as I said, the title is Power of Mediation. And I will only say 2 or 3 things about the power of mediation. That this mediation, and I have always believed, although in the beginning it was conceptualized or conceived and at least perceived as a one of the modes of ADR, alternate dispute resolution, just to lessen and reduce the burden of the courts, so that some of the work that goes to, like it is going to other ADR modes, arbitration, etc., it is goes to mediation also, and the burden of the courts is reduced. But I have always felt it is not that is the only purpose. That may be one of the purposes, but the main purpose is that mediation is one form which brings about the situation of real access to justice. And other thing which I want to say, it does not remain a form of ADR, alternate dispute. It is becoming, and it has to become over a period of time, the main method of dispensing justice and not an alternate. That is why, if you see, the latest trend is in many statutes, particularly in the Commercial Court Act also, the provision is made for pre-litigation mediation. Before you go to court, you first ensure and first try that the case is settled, or the dispute or conflict is settled through mediation, which is a very, very important. because then mediation not only becomes the tool for access to justice, but also avoidance of the disputes. And the disputes don't land up in court at all, even in the first instance, and there's no need of the second stage, as Section 89 envisages court annexed mediation and sending there. But what is more important is, when I say that it may assume in due course of time the form of main institution imparting or settling the dispute, is today it has become savior of the judiciary, because of by taking the burden, as we said, it has become savior of even arbitration process. Because the many shortcomings of the judicial system are taken care of by mediation, and many shortcomings of arbitration system are taken care of by the by mediation. So therefore, that is why today all these arbitration institutions, whether it is ICC or LCIA or SIAC, etc., they provide that there should be mediation if it is possible before even the arbitration starts. So, and that is why we have today the system of Med-Arb or Med-Arb-Med, and all those, there are, and very great success stories behind it. So that is what I say is the power of mediation, and that is what this book captures. And I must congratulate each and every contributor who have, as Justice Bhatt has already mentioned, on various dimensions of mediation. They have talked about it. And it's not generally about mediation, how mediation is going to, is spreading insofar as all over the world. We have many articles by our friends from other jurisdictions who have contributed and have stated about it. And we are talking about the empowering of the sustainable negotiations. We are talking about this community mediation. We are talking about the mediation in specific fields like family mediation, etc. So these are the, and how the mediation is to be seen from the council's perspective. If I may say so, as in the editorial afterward by Sudhanshu Batra, he has very aptly mentioned and summarized this. And if I may read this: articles on the evolution of, sitting at the editor's desk has been my privilege and an opportunity. I'm sorry, opportunity to understand the perspective of a well-established and accomplished national and international mediators on topic covering a wide range. Articles on the evolution of third-party role in mediation, the powerful tool of risk reduction and reward expansion, the empowerment of sustainable negotiation in mediation, peacemaking as a profession through private mediation, the new consideration for effective virtual mediation, the Singapore Convention on Mediation and its impact, communitarian and community mediation, amongst others, have been articulated with great effect and sensitivity. So therefore, I congratulate each and every contributor. And again, I congratulate Maadhyam for bringing this book, conceptualizing it, reaching out to various contributors, and who have contributed so generously and have added the value to this book, and then ultimately dedicating this book to the Corona warriors. So I hope that this work of the mediation warriors would continue, because that is needed by this country and by this world, for the peace of this world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justice Sikri. Justice Sikri, it was your vision of continuity and role of the members of the bar in mediation movement that where we are today as a team in Delhi is just because of your vision at that time. Thank you so much. Dr. V.K. Paul needs no introduction. He is a member of Niti Aayog, as was just said, and chairperson of India's Task Force on Vaccination Administration. Prior to being appointed as member of Niti Aayog, he has been a member of the faculty of All India Institute of Medical Sciences for over 3 decades. He headed the Department of Pediatrics for over 10 years. He is also appointed as chairman of the Board of Governors of Medical Council of India. He has over 350 publications to his credit. May I request Dr. Paul to address the August gathering?
Thank you very much. Most respected Justice Ravindra Bhattji, Justice Arjun Sikri ji, respected Amarjeet Chandok Saab, JP Singh ji, Sadhna ji, distinguished invitees and participants. For me, it is a singular honor to be on this event in the company of such an exalted, accomplished individuals. And on an occasion which marks the release of a very powerful and unique book, even to me outside this profession of law, I can see the goodness of the theme that you carry in the book. It's very powerful, very unique. And of course, the title is The Power of Mediation. And the book, of course, picks on multiple facets of mediation. For me, glancing through the book has been a journey of learning. And I value not only the contents, but also a very impressive format and flow of the book. It's a very nice book. Extremely honored to receive the first copy from Honorable Justice Bhatt. I learned that mediation is a structured, academic, SOP-based system and yet flexible. That's my learning. And it must find a rightful space in the affairs of the society. I think I can see, one wonders why this is not such a big force, such a big movement in the country. All of us have experienced, these disputes or potential disputes in our lives. And I wonder why at that point one has to go for a litigation. It could have been solved. It's so innate. The concept of mediation and accommodation is so innate. And therefore, mediation appeals to the best human values. I want to say this before I come to COVID. Actually speaking, mediation appeals to the best of human values: harmony, mutual respect, accommodation, dignity, kshama, and reconciliation. And mediation as an approach is very calming, settling, shanti, and provides glue to tendencies of division and extropy, to use physics, things that take us apart rather than bringing us all together. So it's been a pleasure to go through the book, sir, and to have you shared this book with me. I'm really honored. And I also am overawed and overjoyed with the work that has been done by Maadhyam. I learned a great deal of your work today and from what was depicted in the book. Coming to the calamity that we are all experiencing. Living in COVID times, we have learned that we all are actually one single large family. The world is a large family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has been said in our scriptures. One little virus, one virus, and one individual who got infected with this virus has led to, an event, a cataclysmic event, devastation across the world today. 100 million recorded cases, 2 million deaths worldwide, 10 million cases and 1.53 lakh deaths in our own country. But these are just the numbers that we know. There is a huge multiple of this. Perhaps in India, it's about 30. Globally, it may even be higher. Who have actually experienced the infection and hopefully survived. Actual numbers are much higher, I can tell you. And remember, the pandemic is still raging. I want to emphasize the fact that the pandemic is still raging. In our own country, at least more than 70% individuals are still susceptible this day. We do not know where this pandemic will take us. We do not know how the shape of this virus would change so much that it might look like another stream of pandemic, maybe worse than what we have. But we do realize that we are not just one human family, but also we are one planet and one large family at large, because the very DNA of the pandemic tells us that all life forms are actually connected. It goes beyond just humanity in a way in terms of connection. We knew that the DNA of mouse and human is common to the tune of 85%. We knew that the way oxygen is consumed by cells, plant cells, human cells, is very same as it is here, consumed by exalted species like human beings. But there is a fundamental connect, and one cannot help say what Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, Ek noor de sab jag upje, kaun bhale kaun mande. I think it's a very calming phase that makes you think how vulnerable we are, how connected we are, how fragile we are. And this must therefore be a moment of pausing and thinking for the future. And I think truly the legal fraternity is so advanced in thinking, knowledge, foresight, concern for the society, I think has a great role to guide the society as we move forward. I'm sure a lot is going to be written about this phase that we all have experienced. Philosophical explanations. We are offering scientific explanations to the extent possible. But philosophical and sociological dimension of the pandemic is still to be unfolded, to be articulated, to be expressed in times to come. We have learned that the response to extinction level, in a way, events of this nature can only be fought through science and technology. That advanced learning that human beings have the capacity to put together is what has been helping. Today, vaccine is one great example, but even the fundamentals of pandemic control rested on testing, diagnostic, rapid diagnostic. And our country showed that in a matter of 10 weeks, we could put out 100 indigenous diagnostic tests to be used in our nation and beyond. So I want to emphasize the fact that the respect for science should go up. We must not only respect wealth creation and wealth and other facets of growth, other facets of development, but science, and to be ready to face such challenges, nation like ours must emphasize and strengthen and build a science enterprise like never before. I think among other things, that is a guarantee of a great future for the nation, but also, as we have seen that we are the ones who sent out vaccines to other countries. Did we hear anybody else sending vaccines? They have stockpiles. They're all using it for their own countries, not even to friendly countries. Nobody has sent. We, our nation, offered the meager collection of stockpiles that we have, part of it to go to other nations. Science and science solutions are, and of course, a certain leadership. I know other aspects, societal responsibilities and pathways and political, they're all important. But what takes care of such calamities is science. And therefore, I would like to submit to the legal luminaries here that respect for science, cushion for science, status of science and scientists should be elevated as much as we all can do, and ways of doing it. We all need to do it. You have saluted the COVID warriors. It's been overwhelming, the words that you use, and your fraternity has the right words to express. And it's emotional for me to experience that as one small, tiny symbol of the large family of COVID warriors. Yes, indeed, the COVID warriors rose to the occasion. Yes, these stories that you said, JP Singh ji, are true, and there are a million others. I personally know nurses who never went home for months. I know for sure. They wanted to protect their families. Fortunately, with vaccine, at least that problem would be taken care of. And you rightly pointed out, not just the doctors and the nurses and the ambulance drivers and the technicians, but also the people who managed the containment zone, the police and the disaster management people, sanitation workers, the municipal workers. And no wonder, therefore, that we said first priority of vaccination are these people, because they were more exposed, more likely to get infection, even tomorrow if the pandemic returns, but also as a notion of gratitude, as the Prime Minister said on that day. The battle for COVID-19 is not yet over. The battle for COVID-19 may even get escalated. I want us to be mindful of this. Second wave is a distinct, it will be unusual if it doesn't happen, because it has happened everywhere. Europe was at ease. They were laughing at us when we were still going up and they had settled down. So I want us to be ready for the next phase. That I'm just sharing it as my feeling with unique colleagues. But yes, India has done well, which you correctly said. And India is fortunate that it has vaccines to offer to its people and indeed to other people as well. So as we move along, I only want to say the time comes for in the lives of professionals, stakeholder groups to rise to the occasion. This was a time when the COVID warriors across the spectrum that you said rose to the occasion. Our soldiers rose to the occasion so many times. We salute them. Our farmers rose to the occasion in the 60s to feed us. Our scientists in the National Institute of Virology, Pune, painstakingly rose to the occasion over 7 days to give you a vaccine candidate, which goes by the name of Covaxin, further being developed by Bharat Biotech, will go to the world. So segments of society rise to the occasion. This was a moment for COVID warriors as a class to rise. They have risen to the occasion in our country and in the world. I join you in saluting them. And thank you so much for dedicating a wonderful, feel-good book, a book that represents a very, very noble cause within the noble cause of justice and law. And I adore your sentiments. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, for shouldering this pious responsibility and challenges of heading the largest vaccine program in the world and informing the August gathering to respect science and scientists and the contribution of India in this direction to the world. Thank you. Thank you so much.
As Justice Bhatt, Justice Sikri, and Dr. Paul have expressed, we are indeed deeply indebted to each one of our authors. From senior pioneers of the mediation movement to its young enthusiasts who have contributed to the book on our invitation and gifted to us their true labor of love. So I'd like to say a few words about them which are in place. Beginning with Justice Sikri himself, who has beautifully laid out the roadmap for the future of mediation after the Singapore Convention effected a paradigm shift for mediation. Our guru and one of the pioneers of mediation in India, Mr. Niranjan Bhatt from Ahmedabad, analyzes the role of third parties in mediation. We have two distinguished authors from California, Mr. Greg Grelier from San Diego, who looks at mediation as a powerful tool for risk reduction and reward expansion in the commercial sector, and Professor Sukhsimranjit Singh from Pepperdine University, who looks at the role mediation has in reimagining access to justice and dispute resolution across cultures. From Singapore, we have three distinguished authors. Marcus Lim examines unconventional perspectives in mediation. Aloysius Goh analyzes new considerations for effective virtual mediation. And Charanjit Kaur underlines cross-border and domestic challenges families have experienced post-COVID-19. From Bangalore, Laila Olapalli draws attention to the future in terms of private mediation and peacemaking as a profession. And P. Sushila illustrates how the 6 blocks method assists the mediator in moving parties from facts to action. From Chennai, Uma Ramanathan draws from Vedanta philosophy and Gestalt theory to show the importance of self-reliance in mediation. A.J. Jawad boldly debates the interplay between domain and process knowledge in mediation. Judge Giribala Singh gives us a beautiful glimpse into the wonderful work in community mediation of Madhya Pradesh. From Delhi, while Veena Rally examines the sensitive area of balancing parties in resolving family disputes, Anita Sahni looks at whether mediation is a panacea or an illusion for domestic violence. While Neelam Rathore and Sarika Gandhi evaluate the efficacy of mediating consumer disputes by online dispute resolution, our youngest mediator, Zubin Singh, criticizes and looks critically at the cyber security issues for India and its online dispute resolution challenge. Shahrukh Alam shares with us her reflections as a counsel on her experiences in law and mediation in her article, Mediating Disaffection. And I must point out that senior members of Maadhyam's executive have also made important contributions from their rich experiences as well.
Thank you, Sadhana. I only wanted to bring to fact 2 things only. One is that I must thank Sadhana personally for she took this lead to get this book in what form it is, along with Mr. Sudhanshu Batra, Nisha and Mithali, the 2 youngsters who are the part of the editorial team. And also, unlike books when normally you ask for a publisher or a bookseller to sell it, this book we are distributing free. The cost will be borne by us, and anyone who whom you think would be, and especially to Dr. Paul and all my eminent guests, Justice Bhatt and Justice Sikri, that they should reach out. We will be very happy to present that book to them. And there is anyone who needs it in the August gathering who come forward. Of course, we'll try and send it to everybody, but could be possibility that there could be an omission on our part. So while thanking you all, I must also bring to notice that this book is available at our end. We can send it, present it with all our gratitude to the person who would like to have a look at it. Thank you so much. JP.
Thank you, Mr. Chandyok.
Can I add one line?
Yes, sir.
Sadhana, while mentioning about all authors, simply said that the senior persons of Madhyam also. Let me say here, these are Mr. Chandyok, Sadhana, and JP Singh all have contributed with their wonderful essays to this book. And another thing which I wanted to say was that I'm overwhelmed by this, that you are going to distribute it free. And it is one of which I told Mr. Amarjit also, that one of the best, quality in printing and paper, etc., quality of paper and printing, which is not seen. So therefore, they have spent so much from their own pocket, and the cost of the book also would not be less. But in spite thereof, it is spreading cheers and spreading again happiness to the community by giving this book free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my lord. This is all done by our designer, Mr. Vinay. We must also thank him for contributing to it. Thank you. JP.
Thank you so much, everyone. We have witnessed a unique effort by Maadhyam to bring together writings of, as Sadhana says, toddlers of the mediation family, along with the pioneers of mediation movement, which have been dedicated to the heroic COVID warriors of the world. In words of our president, the writings are both instructive as well as informative. We thank all the authors and members of the editorial board, which Mr. Chandyok has now amply exemplified. Mr. Batra, Mr. Nisha, Madam Nisha Bambani and Mithali Gupta. And of course, the printer and designer of the book, Mr. Vinay Jain, who always works from the background, never comes, and always has helped us in bringing out publications, even at a short notice, and to bring out this beautiful treatise on the power of mediation. I wish to express my gratitude to Justice Bhatt for releasing the book. We are all inspired by your encouraging words, my Lord, and we look forward for you to lead us in future as well and keep inspiring us. I also like to express my sincere thanks to Justice Sikri for showing us the path to overcome challenges to establish mediation as a full-fledged profession, and it becomes the primary mode of dispute resolution. As our resolution judge, as we call him, we always look up to him for guidance, which you have so graciously always obliged. There are not enough words to thank you, my Lord. Thank you so much. I am grateful to Dr. Paul, who was so kind to accept our invitation to accept our little tribute to the COVID warriors on behalf of all the mediators of India and around the globe. Sir, you now have a new stream of mediator warriors who are ready to work shoulder to shoulder to bring peace and help you on all your future endeavors. I'm grateful to Mr. Chandyok for his vision in molding the future of Madhyam and also dedicating this collection to the COVID warriors. I thank all the participants for coming and joining us today. Your presence in large numbers is a real constant source of inspiration for all of us. We seek your continued support even in future. Thus, we've come to the end of the present day's proceedings, and with the permission of the chair, may I close the proceedings. Thank you, everyone.